Hello, I'm Radhika, a counseling psychologist. Come, let's talk. First, let's understand what is mental wellness. We all know what is physical well being, right? Physical well being is not never falling sick. All of us fall sick from time to time. But if we keep falling sick very often with increasing frequency or with more intensity, and the recuperative period between one illness and the other is becoming very less, then that's cause for worry, right? Similarly, mental wellness does not mean I'll never have any worries, I'll never feel sad or angry or scared, and I'll always be calm and composed. Having emotions like sadness, anger, fear is what makes us human. Just like we are happy sometimes, you may feel sad sometimes, or angry or scared sometimes, and that's very natural. However, when these emotions become so overwhelming that I'm unable to perform my day to day activities well, I'm not being functional, and I'm unable to carry on normal relationships with people, then that's cause for worry. So it's very natural to experience all emotions at the same time. I'm very functional and have good social relationships, then that means I'm having good mental wellness. There are a lot of things that help us maintain mental wellness. One of the foremost among them, which I'm going to talk about today, is the ability to open up to someone and share our thoughts and emotions without any inhibitions. But we are rarely able to open up with people, and the norm of the day when someone asks us, "How are you?" is to mechanically reply, "I'm fine, how are you?" There's so much of yearning in many of us. Will someone won't just listen to us patiently when we are talking about ourselves without interrupting or without looking at their watch or without changing the topic or without advising us. I had a client once, a college girl called Sunita, who felt very lonely, although she was amidst a group of people all the time. Right from the time she was in school, she kind of kept her to herself, maybe because of shyness, maybe due to lack of social skills. And as days went by, this developed into social anxiety. And it's easy for others to bully someone like Sunita, who seemed awkward and ill at ease. And her classmates bullied her, which added to her misery. Although her teachers noticed that the girl was getting isolated, it didn't ring any alarm bells for them. At home, her dad was almost like Sunita. He just kept to himself. He was not a sharing person, just like her. And her mother felt it's better if Sunita just keeps to herself and does not become a typical college girl, roaming around with friends and all that. So Sunita's biggest misgiving was that she had no one to speak to. Sometimes speaking out from the bottom of our hearts makes a difference between life and death. Fortunately, Sunita chose to speak, and that made a huge difference in her life. So, what are we dealing with here? How can we solve Sunita's problems? Is it going around changing the world for her, making her friends a little more empathetic and humane and understand her? That's not possible always, right? But what is possible is for Sunita and many of us like her is to work with ourselves and not let the world affect us in this manner. How do we do this? The very first step in this is to understand how the situations are affecting us. What are the emotions these situations are triggering in me? What thoughts these emotions trigger? And only when we understand this, we would be even able to handle the emotions and thoughts that are bothering us. What do we see around us? In the contrary, most of us do not even realize the importance of emotions. We don't mind talking about our physical ailments. We are happy to share that. But we rarely talk about what's affecting our minds. This is for several reasons, and some are quite justified. We may think, what's the point in telling others? Can they solve my problems for me? Very true. No one can solve our problems for us. But when we speak to someone and share what's bothering us, that actually may be the very first time even we are hearing the whole story ourselves. And we may get different viewpoints about our problems just by sharing it. It may give us clarity from various angles, give us a good clarity of the situation and what probably needs to be done in that situation. Second objection is that, and there's a possibility also that people can give us wrong advice. They may be doing it in good faith, but it can still harm us. Quite valid. For example, usually when someone complains of feeling sad or depressed, what's the immediate reaction from many family members? They would tell them, ignore it, get on with life, push yourself, don't even think about it. It may work or may not work, but the person may be getting worse in the meantime. Thirdly, we may choose not to share our problems with others, thinking that they would think badly about my family or that I am a weakling. Possible. Sometimes there's a risk of sharing very intimately to judgmental people, which would actually hurt us more. I told you so, people. So, at the beginning of any session, I usually tell my clients this. Suppose if I get a client called Sushma, it's like two Sushmas sitting across from each other and looking at her life journey. The person's nature, the environment in which she grew, her socio-economic and cultural background, all have to be taken into consideration to actually grasp, understand what she is going through and what can be done about it. Therefore, as important as sharing is, equally important is to whom you are sharing it with. Choose only those who will not look at you judgmentally, who will look at you with empathy and help you approach your problems. Next week, we can see more about understanding emotions.